The next session is Serving Excellence with Profitability, how to manage purchasing decisions for serving our customers with class. Revenue management and purchase techniques for your food and hospitality business beyond 2020, managing profitability and efficiency. Very briefly, our panel of experts will focus on how to deliver the best quality service to customers and clients of the hotel and the hospitality industry by superior vendor management to get the finest quality of products and services at the most competitive price. Our moderator for the session, and please put your hands together for the Director Materials Radisson Blue Plaza, Mumbai, and Founder and General Secretary, Hospitality Purchasing Managers Forum, Mr. Nitin Nagrale. A warm welcome to freelance consultant Jaideep Gupta. Let's hear it for Materials Manager Sahara Star Mumbai, Teek Bahadur Sarke. Okay, he'll be joining us very shortly. A warm welcome to the Materials Manager of the Resort Mumbai, Mahendra M. Shinde. We welcome the Head of Supply Chain, Pizza Express India, Sunil Kuttan. Also joining the panel is Director Procurement, Marriott Hotels, Bharanidharan R. And to take us through the session, it's over to Mr. Nitin Nagrale.
Nitin Shankar Nagrale. I'm the Director of Materials at Radisson Blue Plaza in Bombay. And I'm the Founder and General Secretary for the Purchasing Managers Forum of India called HPMF. And these are all the proud members of HPMF. HPMF, as on today, has 985 organizations who are the members all across India. And the purchasing heads of these organizations are the members of HPMF. Today, the topic for discussion is serving excellence with profitability. So we will try to understand how procurement can help to achieve profitability, result in better revenues, result in reduced cost, and also let's see how can we help the nation in totality. So I would want to understand from the panel. First of all, I want them to introduce themselves. So may I request Jaideep to introduce them?
I'm Jaideep Gupta. I am a freelance consultant opening restaurants and hotels at the moment. I have a background, 24 years of experience in five-star hotels and restaurants. My last work was with Ka Hospitality, which, as some of you know, would be the Yawacha and the Hakkasan chains. So I was part of the group, opened 5 restaurants before I moved out and started my own consultancy.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Sunil Kuttan. I am the head supply chain for Pizza Express in India. And Pizza Express is basically a casual dining restaurant born in UK, which holds around 450 restaurants in UK and around 50 to 60 restaurants in other countries. So in India, Pizza Express is basically the promoters for Pizza Express is Bharti Family Office, and I take care of the supply chain for Pizza Express India. I've been working for my past 15 years in this industry. I've been working for hotels like Westin, Grand Hyatt, and Westin, and that's from me at this moment.
Hi, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Myself, Teek Bahadur Beer Singh Sarke, working with Sahara Star as a materials manager, taking care of Ambi Valley City and Sahara Star. I have started my career from Sun & Sun Group as a management trainee, and thereafter I have joined with various chain of the hotels. At present, I am working with Grand Hyatt, taking care, after that I was with Grand Hyatt and Sahara Star at the moment. That's all. Total experience is 19 years at the moment. See you.
Good evening, everyone. Myself, Mahendra Shinde. I'm working with Hotel The Resort. It's the hospitality division of K. Raheja Corp. And I'm in this industry since last 15 years. Previously I have worked with ITC Welcome Group, Soro Group, and with the total experience of 15 years, along with few fine dine restaurants also. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Bharanidharan Ramaswamy. I've been into the supply chain procurement function for last 23 years. And I worked with some of the industries like automobile, shipping, biotechnology, agrochemicals, and then food service companies. And then from last 4 years, I've been working for Marriott Hotels as a procurement director. Marriott has about 30 hotels across India, and more are coming in pipeline.
Yeah. Thank you, gentlemen. In last 25 years of the hospitality industry, procurement per se, what people think and feel is procurement is a support function. It's a backbone. It's a department which is a sidelined or a back department. But I have seen in last 10 years, the concept is changed. I'm a part of it. In fact, in last 22 years, I have seen the previous generation as well as the next generation, and I'm foreseeing the future generation. So my question to all of you, it's a common question to you. What do you think, what has happened in last 10 years, and what has resulted as a change in procurement?
In my opinion, it's a two-pronged thing which has happened. One is the purchase people have got more smart in terms of the market scenario. They're more agile, unlike what they were earlier. And the fact that a lot of Indians travel, they have been to new places, they have seen new cuisines, they have seen new things which they would like introduced in the Indian hotel and restaurant scenario. Their demands have gone up. As a result of which, the requirements of a purchase manager has moved out from a typical, office sitting person to somebody who's actually more innovative. The second thing which has happened is that I think vendors have really come up in the last few years. The number of product ranges have increased to a great extent, and they are more knowledgeable about their own products. They are much more hard selling about it, and of course, they are more communicative. So essentially, what I'm trying to explain is that earlier communication was a big issue.
Okay.
But now it's much better.
Yeah. Okay. Sunil, I have a question to you. You have been yourself an example of talent development in the industry. I need to tell you also, when I was working with Sunil in 1999 at the hotel called Regent, which is Taj Lands End today. He joined at the entry level, and then today he's the general manager supply chain of Pizza Express. So in last 15, 16 years, he's raised from nowhere to this general manager level. And so what do you think? How important is development of the employees? How does it help?
I think it's a very important aspect as a supervisor, training your team. I think it's more about giving an empowerment, and as a manager, I always prefer to give my team as more empowerment in terms of so that they are more equipped for understanding the process and also handling by themselves. So this is what I feel in terms of encouraging my team to be more proficient.
Yeah. Do you think the new age employees are ready to learn? Do they have that attitude and aptitude to take care of the responsibilities of the bosses?
Yeah, it's up to us to understand their attitude. If there is an attitude issue, I think that has to be dealt very separately. But if there are some team which is very eager to understand and learn, I think as a supervisor we should encourage them to take up some initiatives and maybe part of I think more about giving an encouragement and giving them an empowerment so that they take up that role for future.
Yeah. Thanks. Bernie, I have a question for you. Now, as Sunil says that it's important to empower and educate your team, do you think will it result in revenue generation of the organization? Do you think a trained employee or a knowledgeable employee achieves or helps the organization to have reduced cost and increased profits?
Yeah, I think it's a very important aspect or important point of any organization is people development. And I think coming to the any trained employee will always add value to the organization. It's more about whether are we looking at a kind of short term or a long term. See, short term benefits, maybe a kind of employee who is new or who is old can always give. But what is important is that how much long term benefits we are looking for, how sustainable, systematic growth for the organization we are looking for, that's quite important. So it's very, very important that we really develop people within the organization and also give a kind of create an opportunity for them to take a kind of additional responsibility, which is going to not only give a growth prospects for the employee and also growth prospect for the manager and also for the organization. Specifically, if I relate this to the Marriott, one of the like key objectives of some of the senior managers, including me, is there are at least two important aspects. One is that we creating a leaders within the organization is one thing is very, very critical. Leaders means, like, for example, who can take my role in the coming year. That is one thing. Another thing is that who can take a purchase manager of a particular hotel's role in the coming 2 to 3 years down the line. So one of my key objective is also to see how I work with the second or third level team members and then help them to take a bigger role when a kind of a person who is a purchase manager of a hotel get elevated to the different role or different position. So it's very, very critical and important that we really work on the people development and work on the training the right people. And knowledge, I think anybody can acquire. Now, what is important is the right attitude and right intentions.
Okay, yeah.
And being in procurement, I think ethical principles are very, very critical. I think that we cannot compromise. So that's what my stake is.
Thank you for touching this point. Mahendra, I'm clinging on to the point which Bharani mentioned. He talked about ethics in procurement. Do you think only procurement should have ethics, and should they follow honesty, integrity and all that blah? And how does it help in the procurement process? If the person is non-ethical, if the person has bad intention and he's got some other agenda, will that help him or the organization, and how?
As far as my point is concerned, ethics is the word itself speaks ethics. So you can't do any deviation into it. And as far as our procurement process are concerned, the one who is handling, because at the end of the day, we are the representative of the owners, and the entire finance of the owners are in our hand, and we are the trusted partners of the owners. So we have all entire responsibility to handling funds of the owners. So ethics is the process wherein you have to follow those things. And if anyone have any bad intention in their operation, ultimately it is going to hamper the entire management scenario, and ultimately it will be going to affect the company itself. So as far as my knowledge is concerned and my perception is concerned, ethics is one of the most important thing which one should follow in the organizations.
Yeah. Take this question is for you. Now you have been sitting and wondering what question is going to come to you now. See, in last 15 years, there have been an emergence of different brands in India. You have been part of introducing a few of them in India. So in 15 years, I would say the Marriotts or the Hyatts or the Starwood Hotel, Accor has emerged as the new hospitality leaders. You work for Sahara Star. Do you have a USP, or do you have a standard operating procedure separately for procurement, which helps you to stand different and look different? As far as you have worked in the other organizations, so can you compare and tell us?
Yeah, as working with the Sahara group, as the group is big, they have a different SOPs over there, and some part of the SOPs were bought for the hospitality industry, which was very weird in the initial stage. But working with the organization like a chain of hotels like the Regent Mumbai, Taj, Grand Hyatt and Sun and Sand itself. So we know all the SOPs, and the SOPs have to be put in the place for the approval. because SOP is not which comes directly or it has to be made, which in the feasible manner, whether how the things will come in the premises and how we have to take it. There should be no on which are the products or no in the organization, which are the products we have to special taker cans. All this has to in the part of the SOPs. And while creating the SOPs, we definitely have to create as per looking to the hospitality, because hospitality is the industry you need it now. It is not that chalta hai, laega, launga, or aega. It is now and now. So we have to create the SOPs in that way.
Yeah. So let me come back to the topic of increasing revenues. Jaideep, this question is for you. Now, do you have any tools or technique or any new idea which will allow the procurement person to increase the revenue per se or reduce cost? Any two concept?
Yeah, so essentially, I think the purchase people have got the big advantage in terms of contributing to the revenue by actually reducing cost. See, revenue generation essentially is not one function which is handled directly by the purchase people, but cost certainly is. And looking at the fact that food and beverage costs are practically the mainstay of any hospitality company, a lot of responsibility is with the purchasing people. Now, as far as new techniques are concerned, I think earlier what used to happen is that we were restricted to certain vendors, restricted to certain modes of doing business. But now that gamut is expanded. So, there are a lot of vendors for the same products or similar products in the market. Competition has increased. You can pick and choose what you want. And obviously, with increasing competition, there's always a chance of better negotiations. The second thing which has happened is that with the increasing quality of communication, as I was saying earlier. So you can now surf the internet if you want. You're able to get more and more details about any other products or specifications that you want. You can look for alternative supplies, alternative items for your products. You can reach out to the rest of the world and get better pricing, bulk quantity discounts, etc., which were not available to us earlier. So definitely these tools have helped the purchase people to definitely
maximize the revenue.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, there are a lot of vendor partners sitting in the audience. I feel vendor development is an important function which a purchasing professional should definitely handle and tackle it correctly. What do you think? Is it an important aspect of the purchasing manager's life to develop a vendor? Anybody?
I will answer this question actually. Yes, developing the vendor is again a very, very important aspect, because you are developing not only the vendor, you are developing a solution for yourself, because it is a solution which is going to help in the way of the vendor, and whichever the organization we go, the vendors are same. So developing vendor will always benefit to giving whether the quality, pricing, recognition, timely delivery, all these factors will definitely help in that way. Am I?
Varuni.
Okay, I think vendor development is a very, very important role of every purchase manager. That vendor development could be in either developing an existing vendor who is already working with us, or developing a new vendor who is available in the market for our requirement, or developing a kind of vendor who can really meet our customized needs. Okay, so I think vendor development is part and parcel of the everyday job, and also it is not that fine we have developed a vendor for this particular year, for this particular contract. Maybe for example, we have done a contract for a particular category 2 years before. Maybe after 2 years, the market dynamics would have changed. Product profile would have changed, our packaging would have changed, our supply chain models would have changed. So it's very, 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 very important we keep a close watch on the market, and also keep developing either an existing vendor to meet our standards, or to meet not only our standards and also to the maturity of the market levels. and also developing maybe a new vendor who can meet our requirements.
Yeah. Mahendra and Sunil, a question to both of you. Can you give me an example of real life vendor development? There are hundreds of people who sit in the audience and they wonder how would they reach your office? They wonder how would they introduce their product to you? So do you really have that roadblock or a bottleneck wherein the supplier cannot even reach you? Can you please simplify this and tell us how have you done it in past and how can you do it for the newer vendors?
I think vendor development, as Mr. Bhatnidharan said, on developing existing vendor and also a new vendor. So existing vendor, I think is more on an easy side, wherein you meet with the vendor, you set up what their potential are and what their incapabilities are, and then we just have an action plan to them to measure that. But for developing a new vendor is it's not a difficult task, as I said, but I think it's a very I think more about we meet them, we understand basically if the vendor is potential enough to invest or to and if they are eager to be a venture into in a new business. So at that scenario, we can always understand their requirements and we can encourage them. As in, I can give you an example. We recently developed a vendor for our a major category called dough. Basically, we outsource dough. So we used to get a dough from an existing supplier. Today I've developed a new vendor who could, wherein I could see a potential in investing them. Wherein they invested on our behalf, and obviously we give them a confirmed business. As I said, it's a business plan wherein we confirm them, and they did it. I mean, that's what we could manage. I mean, it's a two-way thing. I mean, it should be from our side and with the vendor.
Yeah, but I think there are several vendors who are ready to be developed. But how do we identify that this is a potential vendor should be developed? What do you do, and what are the
so it's
criteria?
basically their we evaluate them basis on their past records. I mean, obviously, if he is a vendor, so obviously he must be supplying or he must be dealing with a lot of other clients. So we definitely evaluate them as a partner. So if they qualify on all segments, we get into an engagement with them.
If I may add to that, now.
Haji.
I do agree with Sunil to a great extent, but what happens when there are vendors who have just come into the market with no background? I mean, that is one of the things which we need to look at as well. I personally feel that at any particular point of time, the purchase manager has to be very clear on what the objectives of the company is working for are. So if the objectives of the company are not only to just look for vendors and reduce pricing, but also to look for better items and possibly some items which are developed specifically for that particular property, that's where the new vendors come into play, and to a great extent. So I think it's important for us to be able to gauge the attitude, I would say, in one way, of the supplier or intended supplier. And the second thing is to gauge his levels of interest in the long run. So these are the two major factors which we need to look at.
Yeah. Mahendra, you were saying something?
Yeah, for me, the vendor development is in the, we can divide into two processes. One is learning process and another one is revenue management. See here, at the end of the day, we all are here to learn something. When you are sharing something with your existing vendor, or if you want to develop anything, a new vendor. So again, what information which you share with each other, that's also added our knowledge. And when it comes to the revenue management, at the end of the day, our duty is to duties to save the money of the management. And when you are developing any new vendors, so ultimately you are creating a small vendor or maybe a new person into the market. And our motto behind developing a new vendor is to save on cost, again maintaining the standard which we have to serve to our guests. So these are the things wherein we can sharing our thoughts and getting a new vendor into the market, which will be helpful for other organizations also.
So do you think a developed vendor helps you to increase revenues and reduce costs?
As adding to Mahendra, I would like to add this. Definitely what he said about the revenue management. We develop the vendor looking to that aspect only. Definitely, it will be a profitable sharing, or it will be a profitable for the organization that if we develop this certain community vendor, and that will definitely help. And we, in our past experience, we have developed such a vendor. They are our entrepreneur in the premises. I don't want to name them, whether they are in the import field, where are in the fresh produce field, and they have really developed, and they have a good reputation and the name in the industry.
Okay, Bernie?
I would like to add one important aspect in this whole process is the timing. Let's assume that okay, Marriott is doing a contracting for a particular category in a particular month, where we are actually contacting many suppliers and then trying to get into a contracting for a 1 year or 2 year or 3 year period. Okay. So whatever the exercise happens 3 months before or 6 months before the actual contracting period. So in that whole process, what we do is that we check with the purchase managers of the hotels or the owners of the hotel or the various market contacts. We try to pick up some potential supply partners to whom we roll out the RFP. We call for the proposal where they can participate, and then where we work with them, we evaluate them, and then we shortlist them. And then during the whole process, we work with them whether they meet our requirement. If they don't meet, how do we really make them meet our requirement? Let's assume once we have signed a contract in the month of January, after 2 months, I meet maybe a better supplier. Still, that supplier will not get an opportunity till, I complete the contract period of next 1.5 to 2 years time. So he has to wait. He has to patiently wait. So it's very, very important for the supply partners to understand that they may be having a fantastic product, fantastic category, fantastic, but no, it is not possible for us to accommodate, even though we wanted to do, because already a lot of excesses happened over a period of time. So that is one aspect. Now also when the organizations are growing, what happens in the vendor developments also becomes one more part, which is called as vendor rationalization. Vendor rationalization is something today, for example, if I have 5 dairy product supplier, how do I consolidate and then give that volume to 2 suppliers, so that 2 suppliers grow along with Marriott, who meets all safety standards and quality parameter standards, so that in that process we may need to lose a couple of vendors.
Yeah.
That's something I would like to add.
Brilliant. I have a question to the panel. Today we are emphasizing on Make in India, but outside there are many foreign suppliers. There are a lot of distributors who supply international products. What is your view on products which is imported from country outside India and product which is manufactured here? Say I'll give a product which will be easy for you. Say something, maybe a sauce made in India versus a sauce imported from outside. So my opinion, my question to you is, do you support the Make in India cause, or do you think that import is better?
Yes, we do support Make in India cause, because if you see the current scenario, now all individuals, like earlier it was habit of a family to have food in a fine dine restaurants or in a 5-star hotel, but the knowledge about the raw material and knowledge about the food, it's so generic. A normal household also knows what is pasta, what is Mexican food, what is Italian cuisine. So the knowledge of the individual is increased. So at the same time, the demand for this all imported food is also increased. And just because of these regulations, FSSI and other policies, there are lots of hassles happening into the import of this product. So if any product which is readily and easily available in India, so definitely it's helping to all general customers and public. So definitely we have to support Make in India concept.
What is your opinion, Jaideep?
Yeah, actually that's an interesting thing which Manindra said, but I would like to point out that there are certain things which you can't make in India.
Absolutely, I agree with you.
So coming from that point of view, I mean, Australian beef is Australian beef.
Absolutely.
And New Zealand lamb is New Zealand lamb, and that taste, of course, is required. As I said, people from India are traveling abroad. They are getting the best of the products out, and they would obviously want it here. So the base of the hospitality business, which is food, has to have supplements from outside.
Yeah, we are into
Now,
a business of luxury.
and we Indians being great copiers, well, we can copy a lot of things, but there are certain things which you cannot copy, and that's I think a healthy mix of make in India with imports, which is wherever it's required, is important.
Yeah. Uh,
I think
Jaideep,
I agree
sorry.
with what Jaideep is saying is we just need to be very clear on what category we are looking at it. For example, if room amenities we are importing, maybe we can look at as an opportunity of buying locally, and then we can apply that Make India concept. Maybe, for example, as Jaideep said, if there is a kind of food products, if tomorrow some Chinese guest is coming and walking in, he want a particular Chinese flavored product, no, we need to stick to the Chinese product
Absolutely.
or Japanese product.
No, and we take care of the guests from different countries, and the concept of Atiti Deva Bhava, so we need to make them feel at home. And I feel that not everything can be made in India, so it's not that I'm not supporting, but I'm definitely practical, and I would support personally a mix and match of things. So if you have to have a caviar from a particular country, you have to have it. You cannot make it here. Things which can be made here should be made, and things which are origin and genuine in nature, I think we should promote that. I have a question on this to you. Now, you have been very impatient. What is your opinion about the ruling of FSSAI, which actually killed the business of several suppliers a couple of years ago? Last year, it was terrible for some people, wherein they not just lost a lot of money, but their businesses went down to literally to the drains. How did it affect your performance as a purchasing manager?
If you say that FSSAI is a challenging, but looking to all these aspects, but it is going to really help us as we will be trained accordingly. We think that product is coming and why we need to have all this, but definitely coming FSSI in the products, definitely it has affected us, but it will be definitely help us to be at maintaining the standard and using the very excellent product which is approved by the government. And definitely it is going to help to the guest, as we say, Atiti Deva Bhava. We have to take care of our guest because guest is very precious.
Yeah, now this is going to be my last question to the panel. I was told to shut my mouth at 5, so we have 10 more minutes for the audience. But last question to all of you. In last few years, the importance of purchasing has increased. I personally feel that we can add a lot of value in the process. We can showcase that yes, it's an important department, like any other manufacturing company, wherein procurement comes in the top 3 departments. But in hospitality industry, it falls down the line. What value can you add, say 5 of you? How can you make your own departments different, which will allow you to have increased revenue and reduced costs? What can you do differently?
I'll start. I think the thing which we would definitely like to explore, and we already started doing it, is a India-wide forum for purchasing managers, which Nitin, you are heading at the moment, and we are all part of. I think a great thing has been done in terms of communication between the members. We as members get to know what are the products in the market, which are the new things, new suppliers. Suppliers get a chance to meet all of us in a forum. They're able to showcase their products. Now, when it comes to greater visibility, both for the purchase as well as for the vendors, that is where the opportunities arise in controlling costs for the organization. There also arises a chance of revenue generation. And the third and the most important thing which we covered earlier is it also develops vendors.
Yeah.
So I think this forum is a great way of taking things forward, and I would in fact invite a lot of vendors present here to sort of come to
Be a
us
part
and showcase your products.
Yeah. What do you think, Sunil? What can you do to add to the value? Say, what can you do differently to ensure that your department is recognized as a revenue generation department than a cost incurring department?
I think as a procurement or supply chain department in any organization, to increase revenue is it's basically a, when you talk about increasing revenue, it's all about when if globally people visualize that, they think that, you know, it's basically a sales job wherein they go out in the market and then they bring the revenue. But as a purchasing professional, we could only do as a cost optimization. That's what we can do. But if I have to give you an example of our restaurant segment, wherein you know, what we try and do is to optimize our initial capex cost. So if I have to build a restaurant for 4 crores, so I try and you know, optimize in various ways. I mean, obviously to evaluate design perspective and everything to bring a cost down for 2.5 crores or 3 crores, which will definitely give you a payback, early payback technically. So that also adds up into revenue.
Okay.
So this is what my perspective is. So wherein we follow that practice as a going forward, which we do generally now.
Okay. How about you, Mr. Sarke?
Looking to the aspect of that revenue generation for the organization, we have to think sometime out of the purchase box also. Because what happen if you think again purchase, we are other side actually, there are the potential vendor also, we can convert their business into the hospitality business. So that can always help us, and because as you are sharing the relation with the vendor is more eager to do a business with you.
For me, it is entirely about the interdepartmental relationship, because for any organization, procurement is a department which is very centrally point of center, you can say. It is a department where all departments are entirely dependent on that department. Again, what I say, if you have a committee internally in your organization, so with help of each and every department, you can do good kind of marketing survey, good kind of web survey, because it's not just saving cost. Again, coming together and adding more values and more items to your property, which you can serve to your guests, ultimately is going to gain revenue for the management. So this is the thing. This, in spite of only saving the cost, if you can add some more items and innovative things in your property, which will ultimately help you the revenue for the revenue management.
Okay. Barney?
I have broadly 3 things to share. When it comes to revenue generation or about the adding value to the whole organization, in my personal opinion, yes, revenue generation possibility to the hotel, we can be a support. We can support the main function. That could be operations or F&B or something, where we can try and get some of the innovative products from the market that is going to help the user department to upsell the product or increase the revenue. That could be one. One of the major aspects, what I feel as a procurement function, we need to focus again and again is that how do we bring efficiency in cost? Okay, for example, if there is a saving of 1 crore rupee for the organization, through the procurement function, so to bring that saving of 1 crore, organization has to do a sale of at least 10 crores. So that is something, even if I consider 10% is the profits, So it means, so indirectly or directly, we are helping the organization to meet up the budgets of 10 crores of revenue. That is by just bringing a cost reduction saving of 1 crore. That is the second aspect. So one is the initially supporting to the function, second is this. And third is actually, what I feel is that strengthening the processes, systems, and so that there is no leakage in the overall procurement process. That really helps the organization to add more value to the overall process, and then that actually add to the bottom line of the organization.
Bottom line, yeah. So before I summarize, do you all have any questions? Any questions from the audience? Yeah, Mr. Banga has a question.
My query is primarily to the forum as HPMF. Building relationship with the vendors, is an important part of the vendor development. So do you have any regular meetups or plans, where you interact with the vendors in a common platform in a more informal way, where they can talk openly about new products which they're trying to bring in, or the challenges they're facing with the lower management in the procurement department, or maybe with the culinary side of it? Do you have anything in mind for those activities?
Okay, if that question is addressed to HPMF, then I'll answer that question. As on today, our target is to develop the purchasing professionals, because I feel we still have a long way to go to understand the purchasing. No offense to the purchasing managers here, but I have worked abroad. I have seen a lot of purchasing managers, and the ability to understand the situation, the ability to perform under pressure, and to understand the purchase management in totality is still not there. We still have to reach there. So what we are doing is, as there were a lot of hotels which were introduced in last 10, 12 years, so anybody became purchasing managers. Not necessarily he had supply chain management background, not necessarily he had the experience and required talent and skills. So we want to bring them to a particular level first. We want, in fact, to that effect, we have the American Hotel and Lodging Education Institute has created a special course just for us, which is called Certified Hospitality Purchasing Manager, which is being introduced from the 1st of February. So what we intend to do is first enroll everybody, ensure that they technically are qualified to understand procurement management. Then they would understand what's negotiations, what's vendor development, what is supply chain in totality. And maybe down the line in mid this year and next year, we will introduce a vendor module. So we have a module which is already ready, which will talk about the development of the vendor. So we will imbibe them as partners of HPMF, and they will become the success mantra for us, wherein we would ask them on things like what can we do, how can we improve our performance, and that will help. We have a Google group, we have a nice website which will be launched soon. So this website at the moment has members who are purchasing managers, but by mid of this year or end of this year will involve all the member suppliers, and you would be able to understand the requirement of everybody on the net. So if, say, Take Sarke has a requirement of a particular product, say pasta from Norway, just an example, and he puts it on the net, that in the Google group, that I need pasta from Norway, so that will go and hit that particular supplier who has pasta from Norway available. So it straight away is an RFQ which is created and hit him, and then you can coordinate with Take straight away. So you don't need to even have a requirement. You don't need to do cold calling. It just comes and sits onto your computer. So that's one way of increasing business. But then it's going to be hitting all of them who have got pasta from Norway available, and then thereafter it's you and him who need to deal. We also have a vendor certification module which will come in next year, wherein we want our vendors also to understand our requirements, understand the processes which we follow. So we will tell them the way which we want you all to know, and you all will understand how to introduce yourself, because many times people just send a bulk emailer and then they expect us to read and reply, because it's not even addressed to us. It's just an email which is sent. So unless it's a personal email, unless there is an appointment taken, unless there is a meeting which has happened, so it's difficult for you all to even crack. So those are the modules which will come in and which will help you. So I'll talk to you separately, sir. Thank you. Any other question? Sir.
Okay, hi, this is Justin here. I just wanted to know what are the most important qualities that you look into a vendor? The last point which you just touched on, if you can still stress on that and tell us what exactly do you require?
Yeah, may I request Jaideep to answer this?
See, the first quality which we look at is your infrastructure, right? Now, I'm not going to get into the differentiation of a new vendor and an old vendor. I'm assuming that vendors who would come to us are already established vendors. So we look at your infrastructure. Very honestly, we look at your payment holding capabilities in terms of your investment. Third thing we look at is your hygiene and neatness if you're a food supplier. That is very, very important to us in the 5-star as well as in the high-scale restaurant industry. The fourth thing we look at is your agility. So it so happens that ours is a business which is like a la minute. You get requirements last minute. How agile are you? How are you able to fulfill the emergency needs of our requirements? That's another thing we'll look at. and of course, attitude to move forward. So we don't want vendors who are sitting on similar products year after year, not moving forward. We like you to be innovative. We like you to come up with new items. Tell us more about it.
Yeah, and also every organization has a selection criteria. So one is you need to be registered with them. So if you're not registered, you must get onto them and register yourself first, and then understand when is their procurement cycle starting. Because many times you get in between the procurement cycle and you think, oh, I didn't get the business. But understand and wait for the cycle to happen.
Thank you.
Thank you. With this, I would like to conclude this discussion. What I would want to tell you all is procurement is an important function. It is a function which evolved several years ago and which is still evolving. We are learning. We are there to not just reduce cost but add value. And by adding value, we will ensure that the guest satisfaction increases, revenue increases, and the cost reduces. Thank you.